I have big questions as both of these teams, they are coming of a lot of questions as we do look at the draft. For LNG, we have Anar, Maokai, and Jace in that top side with a bit of a safe scaling option with that Jinx and Tahm Kench. And for the side of Weibo Gaming, we have the Gragas, the Wukong, the Annie, and of course a matching scale in terms of the Aphelios, and of course the Rakan in the hands of Chris. But first thoughts is that I think Weibo Gaming, their comps when it comes to what champions they decide to pick approaching these higher end teams, it's a little bit predictable. You already see it in the Wukong pick alongside the Annie for Xiaohu. They want to go for those 5v5s which play around light on the Aphelios, and the Rakan pick for Crisp is going to allow for a lot of mobility when it comes to their skirmishes. But on the other hand, I mean, draft just disappeared, but we do have LNG where I think Scout is the MVP for the first 2 weeks of just being the best mid laner in terms of performance so far.
I mean, of course you got to give it to him, right? He's also tied first in the whole league, so Kitty on that point. Scout has been LNG's success as we look at two top teams in the league. 2-1 for LNG. For Weibo, they've only played 2 series, so 1 apiece. But it is the home arena of LNG. They've got crowd advantage over in Suzhou, and we're going to see how they perform with this draft. We already talked about it. We've got some cool carries coming through from people like Scout, Zika as well on that top lane against TheShy. Can it be fun to watch topside? Because I think a lot of people will be watching Zika. I'm going to say his name like that because honestly, saying the way the Chinese side says
Zika. Yeah.
No way. How do you team fight with that? There is absolutely no way. We just call him like DRX Zika or Zeka, close enough. Either way, top lane, it matters, right? TheShy versus Zika, it's kind of his test to show that he is getting accustomed to the league versus one of the big greats.
Most definitely, especially with Weibo Gaming. I mean, they just came off a pretty big loss from OMG from the previous week, where TheShy in that top lane, there was a bit of a difference in terms of presence when it came to those team fights. So I'm really hoping for him to step up on this Gragas in particular, because I believe when they did pick something like the Gragas and it came to those team fights, we saw not just from him, but a little bit of a few mechanical mistakes coming out of the solo laners, and just not a lot of consistent CC that will kind of disrupt the positioning, which is going to be Gala on this Jinx for this game 1. And the lucky thing is that he has hung on something like the Tahm Kench, but I think when it does come to the topic of the bottom lane of LNG, Gala is just as consistent as ever. He showed a bit of weakness in that week 1 up against top esports, where he was getting caught a little bit in that mid wave, but when it came to those team fights, he's just as reliable as ever. But Hung, his champion pool is a little bit narrow for the time being. I believe his most played is that Lulu because of how the meta has adapted so far, but it's sitting on a 25% win rate. So I really want to be impressed with this Tahm Kench, because he's the only kind of source that is going to protect Gala from the amount of engage that Weibo Gaming have.
Yeah, just on the note of Hung, 4 games you mentioned on the Lulu. We've had Yumi, we've had Rakan, Brom, Tahm, so there's been a bit of diversity. But remember, folks, LNG have played 3 series already. That's why they're sitting 2-1. And on the note of Gala as well, just to add a bit of context, it's been still a nice addition to LNG despite some flaws in games. Seeing that carry potential you talk about, seeing that team fight proximity that makes him so amazing. LNG felt like they needed that, as Hung already making a level 2 roam, but he was spotted by a ward as he moves to the mid lane. Tarzan and Weiwei on the other side of the map as well. Kitty just heading towards his top side to add a bit of pressure too.
Yeah, and a really big matchup that I do want to highlight coming into this series is the jungle matchup, because we have Weiwei being the starting jungler, replacing Karsa. I believe that Karsa hasn't really seen a game this split so far. But now that Weiwei has showed us both sides of the coin, where he has played something like the carry in the Kha'Zix and a lot of this engaged in the Wukong and the Vi, can Weibo kind of quickly work onto a more flexible team identity? Because I feel like I mentioned in the previous starter, is that they are a little bit predictable when it comes to these team fights. TheShy, he has been kind of enjoying these tank top laners where it's all about light, especially in this game 1. This Aphelios is quite literally the only damage source, or at least hyper carry damage source, that they need to play around. And I think up against someone like Tarzan, I mean, Tarzan, he is something very unique about LNG is, I think Tarzan, once he's set up for success to carry, I mean, he gets the job done.
Well, I gotta say, the main thing about LNG that is rather Weibo that's excited me for this split is the fact that TheShy has a jungler that ganks top. I've noticed
What?
game after game, the debut of Weiwei, like, casters sometimes left TheShy on a bit of an island where teams consistently hover this lane. It's a bit of a memento to the skill and caliber that is this top lane demon, but more so the fact that they know that Weibo in the past haven't really prioritized through his strength of lane. And it's nice to see that Weiwei has been paying attention up there. Good counter ganking angles as well. We'll keep an eye on it and see how it goes this game, because right now, Weiwei has gone through his full clear, sets up Scuttle on the bottom side. There's good vision for LNG on the top side too, so makes it difficult to traverse while they're setting up their bottom side angle for potential Dragon Kitty. And I want to know where this starts off early. I want to ask you where this starts off early, because it feels like we have a slow early game, kind of waiting for that 6 points so far.
Yeah, both of these team compositions kind of want to aim for the same goal, look for those 5v5s, but the only thing that does stand out to me is that Zika on this Gnar is going to slowly win that side lane push up against TheShy, so if Weibo isn't able to kind of handle the wave that is slowly pushing in from the side lanes, then they're kind of forced into a sticky situation where they're at the risk of losing that gold. But we'll have to wait and see, because this is the 10th billion time we've seen Jinx versus Aphelios, but like I've been saying, that this Jinx does have that extra bit of security in the likes of Hung.
Ooh, okay, Tromp's gonna go down. Zap's there as well. Chris didn't get time to get out, but he does get time to get burnt by Gala and Hung. Tarzan's here edging for a potential dive, but just depends on Weiwei right now, who's not on vision, so LNG will back away.
Maybe see how Tarzan and Scout are kind of working together with this Jace versus Annie matchup in the mid lane. Jace having that push for this Annie and letting Tarzan kind of walk and hover towards his bottom side, allowing him to play aggressive, does mean they secure this first dragon.
All right, Weiwei now on the top side again. We already talked about this, likes to hover into this top lane. With LNG getting the dragon, we're a minute and 30 away from the Herald. Just a quick note that LNG, they don't have a gold lead, but they've got a bit of lane priorities we've seen from people like Scout. We're going to see Tippers coming on out, Xiaohu getting a good trade-off. And we've actually got Scout versus Xiaohu as a comparison bottom side of the screen. I hope you guys could see that. Scout right now flaunting the stats, as we were talking about in our pre-game, which is our king MVP right here. Already 3 on the side of LNG.
Yep.
Scout is having another great split.
I was just peeping the stats right there. I believe Scout has an 80% average KP in how involved he is in all of these team fights, and I think a really big reason why is because he is probably performing we've seen so far in the LPL in, as he is just getting assist on 3, 4 active fights, and that Tarzan to takes like the I believe it was Viego that can work off those resets, and I think that's unique to L and kind of iconic to them, honestly, as a duo.
Yeah, I mean, it goes beyond that as well. Hung already roaming towards mid. They play towards that strong lane. As Tarzan already still hovering around mid as we flash up to the top side. What's happening here? TheShy has been altered towards turret, and we're in a bit of danger zone as well. Zika now goes into range. Body slam explosive cast. He doesn't get the range to flash match. And we talked about it. TheShy in the lane sometimes can be exposed, and Zika comes in for first blood.
Oh, that had to be an isolated 1v1 in the top side. Like you said, TheShy, he just didn't respect the Mega Gnar coming out at Zika, and the amount of burst caught him off guard.
Well, TheShy is going to have to walk back to that lane if he chooses. Looks like we're getting a bit of a switcheroo as we go to the replay kitty, and it's a Mega from Zika that gets into the bottom side.
As you see, TheShy, he was trying to just get this wave in using the initial Q on the wave, so he didn't really have an answer back, just playing off those CDs. But with that Mega Gnar hitting the ultimate, TheShy is just trying desperately to escape. But unfortunately, with that fleet in the hands of Zika as well, he's not running very far away.
First blood over to this Gnar. Talks about proving himself and already coming into game number 1 versus Weibo. It sets up for the 1k gold leaders, even as we come back. Looks like Light catching the wave enabled the Herald to be taken here, Kitty, so Weiwei will be objective trading for that dragon we saw earlier.
I'm actually really glad that Zika's... Oh, I might need to pause that point.
But he's used his combo, and Hung is nearby. Gala is going to be okay for now. TheShy, remember, use that explosive cast, because Weiwei's just setting up top. We've just committed to the full lane swap for Weibo.
We've seen this way too many times in the LPL, where once that team gets the Rift Herald, they're willing to drop it for this red and white affiliate. So I think getting 5 plates into Light's pockets at 9 minutes in the game, and they're most likely going to swap back to the bottom lane and collect even more. But a really smart macro decision from Weibo Gaming, and hopefully this is going to be a continuing factor in this early game. But something that I wanted to highlight was that Zika was one of the members of LNG who I thought was a little bit inconsistent in lane, so getting that first blood into his pockets means a really good start for LNG and how Zika is kind of showing up today.
I mean, does it? Because now, all of a sudden, there's almost a 2k gold lead. It's LNG ganking mid. Xiaohu has to flash away. But further to the point, Kitty, you just gave a Storm Razor outright pretty much with Light, with now Berserker Greaves. That 2k gold lead I talked about, okay, it's equaled out to about 1. But Weibo Gaming, with the macro that has just shifted TheShy getting solo killed into something glorious, as he's waiting down the bottom side. There's an elongated top lane right now, Kitty. And LNG might get collapsed on, depending on what Chris can do with his positioning.
We do have Weiwei making his way from that base position, though. Gala has the flash available. I'm not too sure if they can get his hands onto this Jinx, as Hung is just around the corner.
He's still
there.
All right, TheShy, wrap it up, Disco Stew. He's going back finally to go for that lane that's slowly pushing out. He does have teleport as well. That is now unsealed thanks to the changes at 10 minutes. So for Weibo, it will just be a strict 2v2. But hey, it's still a gold lead. It's still a change on the top side play. And with Dragon coming up in 30 seconds, Kitty, I'm curious as to what Weibo's next move is, now having strength in this bottom lane.
Yeah, Dragon spawning in 20 seconds, and Weibo Gaming, I'm just taking a look at their summoner spells. We don't know how or where Xiaohu used that flash, but that is going to be a huge downfall, or at least one of their main engages gone in terms of how unexpected Gala is coming into this next team fight, especially with TheShy also not having that flash available. So they have to wait for these summoner spells if they want to look for a successful 5v5. But you already see LNG having that mid lane priority, the ultimates.
Flash? Okay, that's the all-in. Nature Grass, though, going to lock him down. Pivots out, but it's too late. Scout and Tarzan, as we talked about, Kitty, same page, no problem again.
Yep, as flashes get committed to this solo bubble, we might see another one on the top lane, but I'm going to hold on to that just for now. But we do have Weibo Gaming regaining their vision control towards his bottom side, but Tarzan getting that pick in the mid lane, more than happy to get this dragon, or at least the second dragon, over to Weibo Gaming, since they already took the first one.
We'll equal the first one out from LNG, that's right. Bottom lane just setting back to catch the wave, while we're focusing in on Gala. I guess that's because Chris really wants to stop the recall here and stop him from getting that first item while the wave can push in with another couple of minutes on plating. Weiwei also, they know he's down the bottom side of the map, so they have to pay respect as RNG spot. Excuse me, I'm used to seeing Gala. RNG, LNG, Gala's going to head back, Kitty, while Weibo now have another shove in of wave, more plating for Light.
Yeah, but LNG Gala, he's going to also walk back and match that Storm Razor with how much individual CS and gold experience he was able to collect as that Jinx in the bottom side. As Hung, he was just dipping outside of that experience range as well. But now, the biggest difference is Scout. He's sitting on a Youmuu's. And we all know with the lethality item changes, I mean, this is going to be a huge spike for LNG to play around. There's going to be an engage.
Yeah, might not matter with that item though. Here comes Cyclone, stun up. Scout gets to move about half a second in total. Great gank mid here from Weibo, as Light getting caught in the bottom side is not going to be his doom for now, but Gala gets some trade-offs and tries to get something back with that roam from WBG.
And now you're starting to see the difference between the uses of a Tahm Kench and Rakan, where Crisp, he's going to pull off a successful gank onto a flashless Scout, as he did have to burn that onto the kill for Xiaohu, as Tahm Kench struggling to find those angles onto Light, as he is just going to be forced to back, which does deny one wave, but still, that's a kill going to the hands of Weiwei.
There's Gala getting some plating though, as we talked about. Already with the Storm Razor, Gala catching up a bit, and remember, it was the top side shared, where Gala looks like he's got a lot of solo plates down in his bottom side. So a bit of a net win here from LNG in the end as they claw back the gold, get it to even Steven. And even Tarzan showing a bit of pressure here, giving LNG more of that priority in the bottom side, Kitty. It's a nice recovery when LNG with that top side plate got swapped on out of nowhere. That created that top long side lane.
Now it's Zika just trying to get some damage onto this top side tower, but I'm getting a little bit worried for LNG because I think Chris, he is a little bit more proactive with how he is getting that vision down towards his bottom side. So it's making Tarzan's life a little bit difficult, just trying to find angles to shut down Light. As you see, Weibo Gaming's entire composition for this game one, it is about the Cephalios, and he is scaling just fine. We have Chris and weiwei just hovering him again, giving over this bottom tier 1 for free.
Scout can't do anything about it, can he? Light will take this. It might be after turret plating, but that is 2 turrets in under 15 for the 80 carry of WBG. And he's already sitting on the BF sword too, so he is going to be a monster. We are going to get the Jinx versus Cephalios El Clasico once again, where both 80 carries can pop off in a team fight, and I'm all about it, Kitty, especially since it's 1 dragon apiece. We've got another Herald that's now spawned too. We should be getting a lot more fighting soon, especially with a lot of those ults coming off cooldown yet again.
Now Rift Herald is going to be the next major objective, but does seem like Weibo Gaming, they do want to contest this scout. He is backing for some of that items, but currently they are at a numbers disadvantage.
Chris also getting damaged as well. Weibo have to come into this in one angle or the other. And rather what I'm saying is that they need to make a move now, because weiwei gets tagged out by Scout, the level 11 Jace. They're zoned out with everyone moving into River by WBG, but Herald is going to reset, so now a bit more time to play if LNG want to re-engage.
Weibo Gaming successfully regaining that vision control in this river. As Light, he has a really good engage tool, especially playing alongside Xiaohu, who does have that flash available as well. So LNG, they have to play with their spacing correctly. And Zika, now the Mega Gnar. Weibo Gaming can realistically wait this Mega Gnar out, but I think LNG, they're going to commit to this Rift Herald.
Yeah, maybe just want to play on the defensive towards mid. Good spot there, Kitty. The Mega Gnar, as you said, a big determining factor for weiwei trying to make a play. Or a little bit closer, and maybe, as this flash was not going to be burnt. Yeah, the rocket does do some work as well, as on top of that, they get the Herald. And I wonder, with Light getting forced away, Kitty, they might even get mid-turret as well. I think LNG can compile this.
They forced 2 people out just from Gala, out DPSing the enemy team. I was honestly expecting, they're going to wait for this upcoming dragon and most likely drop that Rift Herald in the mid lane to open up the map even more. But Gala on this Jinx so far, he is getting a little bit scary, but we'll have to wait and see, because we do have Xiaohu arriving to that riverside first, and it really is all about that vision control and who can get onto those flank angles, because we have summoners available on every single side, but I believe Light is pretty close to that Gale Force.
It should be, right? I mean, already we've got so many components coming through, but we need to look top side because the Herald has been dropped. Tarzan trying to open up the top side of the map. While weiwei's response on the other side is to find a pick onto Scout, the 1v1, the flash away, and he takes big Krug as well. Cyclone's all it costs him, while for LNG, trying to make a pass at this second inner turret is what's next on the menu.
LNG willing to give away this 3rd dragon available on the map just to trade for this top lane towers, but TheShy being here, I mean, he does have that TP available. Not too sure if LNG have the damage to kill this Gragas by themselves unless they call up another member towards this top side, but Weibo Gaming, they should be fine with this, as this is going to be a very slow mid game.
Yeah, I mean, double dragon picked up now from Weibo. As you said, lanes have been lengthened, but LNG going to try and speed things up at least a little bit in the mid lane. And this turret finally going to drop down, as they've been trying for quite a while. You need to bridge that one. Gold lead as well, 1K. All right, 18 minutes in on this game that we're playing catch up in. At least though, Kitty, the transition to late is going to be psychotic, as I think both teams will be probably throwing no holds bar in the upcoming fights.
Yeah, but my eyes are still on TheShy for this game, because his Gragas, I mean, all eyes on that cask in these team fights. As we've seen what great casts or great Gragases have done at those international events, just denying this positioning from the Jinx. And I think the difference is that now Light has that Gale Force available, so he's not going to be under as much threat. So the execution from Hung and Gala in these team fights is going to be extremely high. But my question is how is LNG going to approach these team fights? Because you have someone like Scout who is constantly going towards the side lane. You see that LNG, they want to force something like the 3 1-3-1 in this game one, and then they are going to slowly get gold online through there. And once this Jace hits those 3 items, well, it's going to do so much more than just an Annie, who is going to act as that soul engage tool for the side of Weibo Gaming.
And remember, if we're talking about sides here for LNG, I mean, that is an AP Gragas top side who has got himself an Oblivion Orb with the Everfrost on top. So we are not talking about tank Gragas. We are not talking about the most solid of front lines. Something that Scout should be able to have a good time, especially with Manamu now just picked up at about 12 stacks away, or should I say 3, realistically, with 4 apiece. Wait, 4? 6. No, 4. I was right the first time.
It's kind of insane to think that Light got 5 tower plates from that top lane tower, but Gala is the one sitting on a 200 gold bounty. Man's been CSing a lot for the past 20 minutes.
But that's Gala. I mean, every single time we watch this man, yeah, he's like, you know, he's the Chovy of the bottom lane. Zika, we all saw that as well. As it was also the solo time with Turret Kitty. There's a time he had mid by himself as well. I mean, Gala has been given a lot of alone time, and that's really made the difference here. Is Light's not too far behind, but it's a good point you raised that Gala has been able to catch back up in the game. Gravitum's there. There's the flash Tarzan. Without his as a jungler, maybe important to note as Baron has spawned, always a threat here as Vision starts being fought over for.
You see Weibo Gaming, they're getting a little bit desperate, trying to force something in this mid lane. It is going to be the ultimate force out of Hung as well. But something else that we need to highlight is the hole breaker that Zika just picked up as LNG. They're going to continuously put a lot of pressure towards the side lane as Xiaohu, you saw him hovering towards that mid but not getting much done as Scout, now level 13. He is going to become a very big issue if the game continues this way for the side of Weibo.
He is just left free in the side lane continuously. Guys at home, you're thinking, it's a little bit slow, but again, we told you why. A 3k gold lead for LNG. They're also just slowly irking out that advantage. The hole breaker on the Nara in the side lane too. As you were so rightly saying, Kitty, 1-3-1, the side lane pressure that's going to come through this game is going to be immense, and LNG in such a great position to do so. And I have to say, from last split, this is what we remember. LNG with his team that were just superb at slowly inching away a victory. They weren't any hard forces. They were simple yet concrete as the game went on. And again, here in summer, we're getting the same LNG. Even with Gala coming through, that there's nothing forced. It's just slow and sure to win the race.
Consistency is key, as you see Weibo Gaming setting up their vision control towards that bottom side. But I think LNG with Jinx and this Jace, they can honestly threaten the Baron if Weibo Gaming is not too careful. But we do see the constant pressure from Zika on this Nar, slowly winning that 1v1 isolated matchup and keeping TheShy occupied in that top side.
Xiaohu. Not gonna come through. There's the poke that we talked about from LNG as well. Scout and Gala on a tear. And they'll get themselves a bit of mid from that as well. Dragon's up in 30 seconds. But Weibo Gaming still consistently not wanting to give it over while, topside losing out too. So an inner turret goes down and LNG just keep hovering between that and the river. Double flash comes through and that's what you want to see from Light. He's just tearing them up. All of a sudden LNG get way too close to the Light and they get flash bang.
And that's the pick Weibo Gaming needed. Now they're going to work towards that Baron. Although Zika is still in that top side, I don't think they have what it takes to stop this Baron from happening. So Gala, he's going to work towards that Dragon and going to deny that soul point away from Weibo Gaming.
With Baron going down, I mean, this is just still insane. Big turn from Weibo. Not even a second thought as well. That was quick as you like. As you said, Zika's doing the Dragon, but it's not the fastest. So in the meantime, Weibo with Baron, open up mid, get that gold more than even, in fact, even into a small lead. And they'll be happy, Kitty, to lose a second Dragon for it, considering they got the last one. So replay again, as this was a quick pull.
Yeah, we see the double stun onto from the Tibbers from Xiaohu, and it was just a huge wombo combo coming out of Weibo Gaming, and it definitely caught LNG off guard. TheShy, he had to use his TP, but it's okay. He was just securing that Baron. But LNG, I mean, the game was going great for them, but they just had to stop all engage angles going towards Weibo Gaming. But unfortunately, we've been talking about how the execution on this Tahm Kench needs to be perfect. He has to be the one that protects the teammates. But when he isn't able to get his hands onto either Scout or Gala, I mean, this Tahm Kench is going to get a little bit outscaled compared to someone like Chris, who's a level 11 now.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big advantage there. As you said, 9 for Hung. He's been out of the action for quite a while, but that's because of the roams we were seeing earlier in the game. Now going to hurt him a little bit as Light steps up to the turret. He's got 3 items, folks. Look at the damage to Calibrum. Inner bites of dust. Bot waves prepped and ready as well. And you can see that Zika is trying to make a play with his whole breaker in the top. But their base could start shattering before he even gets towards the inhibitor turret himself.
Yeah, and like I just highlighted, this Gnar not having that TP available. LNG, they're just trying to hold the bases as Weibo Gaming trying to push throughout mid and bottom. But we've been highlighting that Gragas, yes, you can go back and stop this Gnar, but an engage from Tarzan.
Nature's Grass does come through. The clone to block it away. Well played there from Weiwei. More importantly, I was looking at 1 Calibrum auto onto Gala. It was like 1/8 of his health with just a right click from BT.
Patch 13.10, welcome.
I mean, that's just Aphelios in general, I feel, is what's happening in the top side. Mega Gnar about to come through. Zika's going to get away. The explosive cast helped him out as TheShy is running after him. There's a flash as well, slowed down with a barrel roll. Xiaohu should be able to help finish this off. Light behind him too. There is no way that this dinosaur doesn't die to the fat man, to the scary offshore illegal facility, whatever Aphelios is these days, or an 8-year-old girl. Guess what? Went down in the end to Light, so a 3rd kill for the Aphelios, and Weibo is starting to reap the roost.
Hopefully Weibo Gaming can utilize this death timer towards that top side and get that tier 2 tower, but you already see how much of a problem this Gnar is becoming, where TheShy himself, he can't really, or he doesn't have the damage to ever kill him. But luckily, with Light rotating first with that Baron recall, they're able to reset tempo and now work towards his top side.
Alright, well, TP coming through at the very least from Scout. TheShy stays. His teleport is up. Good poke coming through from Scout. Does LNG try to defend this turret as best they can against the Weibo that are becoming increasingly on the offensive? We got 2 items to this Annie as well, by the way. Worth mentioning is Xiaohu. His flash is almost off a cooldown, and he is going to destroy his Tibbers a little bit early, my friend. The ult comes through from Light as well, but Tarzan just gets destroyed.
It doesn't matter.
It does not, and as TheShy comes in, his F-Frost might just be a zoning tool, but he wants to be one with the boys. Inner turret goes down, and Weibo still a successful charade.
Not too sure about the decision of protecting that tier 2 tower because of how many engage tools that Weibo Gaming had. It was just a very risky decision, as you already see Tarzan falling as that victim. Although it really looked like Weibo Gaming, they had a pretty rough start to that team fight. Xiaohu definitely missed his Tibbers onto everyone, but it didn't matter because it baited Tarzan to go back in and mind control this Maokai to give over a free kill. But it's also the TP from TheShy, where the major objectives will be spawning in 1 minute, so they do have absolute vision control towards this top side. So LNG, they're in a sticky situation on deciding if they want to face check in.
Well, at the end of the day, with the inner going down, Weibo now with 4K. It's 27 minutes into the game, and Dragon's coming up in a minute, but they've got their eyes on bigger prizes, which is pushing down mid, pushing down the bot lane as well. You can see Zika desperate for LNG right now, trying to get some control here in this game, playing that side lane now, but Kitty, it's just been a defensive maneuver from LNG, considering that Scout had so much control on the sides, but he's now resorted to sticking with the rest of the team and clearing waves. There's no pressure outside of that top lane now.
It's kind of crazy that LNG, they were holding their bases so well until that one major team fight that happened at this tier 1 tower in the mid lane. But now, if you take a look at the items, we have 3 stopwatches or Zhonya's available for Weibo Gaming in the next major objective fight. So LNG, they're in a bit of a sticky situation. Gala's caught out of position.
Hello, Gala. Oh, that could have been free. I guess not. I mean, Chris has flash ult, but didn't want to pull the trigger. Instead, Gala just walks away, but they lose mid off another free push, and TheShy's there to make sure it is no trade deal from LNG.
I wouldn't be surprised if LNG, they just flip the Baron, or hopefully something towards that top side, because they cannot walk into this bottom jungle. You already see Crisp and Xiaohu camping that bush. They do have a lot of great vision for the side of LNG on this Baron, but Weibo Gaming, they don't have any wards on this.
Never mind though, because Zika just soloed a turret. TheShy couldn't clear the wave, and he literally is winning the game right now for LNG, or at least keeping it as competitive as possible. When we talked about top v top, when we talked about, I guess, amateur slash rookie slash, you know, fresh face in LPL, who's now been here a couple of years, versus TheShy, who's an absolute legend. We wanted that to be an interesting narrative. I feel like it's already stepping up here in
They're
game one.
doing
He's got a
it.
CS lead, and he's starting the Baron Kitty with Weibo rolling in.
They're trying to dance around with the idea of Baron, trying to deny that Wind Dragon Soul point, going over to Weibo Gaming, as that is going to be the TP out of Zika. For Gala, he has to kind of respond to this midway very soon, but Weibo Gaming, they're going to respond with their own Baron attempt.
Yeah. Chris is walking by. Zika does have himself Mega Gnar coming up, but Baron's just going to be gone. Easy smite to go
Xiaohu!
down as, oh, the 3-man. Beautiful stuff from Xiao. Woo! Light running forward. He's got flash available still with about as many chakrams as Ninja Gaiden. Chris with the quickness, TheShy with the Everfrost. And guess what, baby? It's a bounce house. Weiwei setting up the jumping castle so that everybody can have a ride. As they fall on down, it's only Zika yet again. The 1v5 tries to continue, but his team lays dead.
And Xiaohu is your man when it comes to those reliable team fight engages, as he is just landing these timbers onto everyone on LNG. But this game is now going to end at 30 minutes. Zika's trying so desperately to at least clear the way, but I don't think it's enough.
Well, with the Nexus turrets dropping down, Zika running away. But he's not going to survive this, is he? Ladies and gentlemen, game one to Weibo in brutal fashion.
It's crazy to think that LNG lost from 2 major team fights, and that's all it took. Nothing else happened. I mean, we just had CSing for Gala. I think Gala was CSing the entire game, actually. But just the amount of pure engage from Xiaohu, from TheShy, and of course Crisp on that Rakan. I mean, it was just an absolutely insane situation to be in. And you saw Gala in the bouncing castle himself. It was a big struggle for him in this game one.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, again, look, set up beautiful. Xiaohu with a sick play. It's funny that TheShy on this Gragas probably was the least influential member, but Light having the most solid